all got to work together for the common good. And it would seem to me that when we talk about those who sacrifice, those who have put their lives on the line to defend this country, we're talking about the men and women in America who are veterans. And yet, what we have seen in the last month from the President and from Elon Musk is a chainsaw approach to essentially destroy the Veterans Administration. And that is, there are plans afoot, public, no one is debating the numbers. They want to fire 83,000 employees. And when you fire 83,000 employees, nobody believes that anything else will happen, but that there will be a deterioration in the quality of health care that our veterans receive, or a delay in the benefits that they have earned. Now, I've heard criticism of the VA. VA is the largest healthcare system in America. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. Does it have its problems? Of course it does. But compared to what? Compared to the American healthcare system, which is the most expensive in the world, a system in which 83 million Americans are uninsured or underinsured, where 60,000 people die each year, where we have the lowest life expectancy of any other major country on earth. So no, the VA is not perfect. It needs improvement. But I will tell you that in the state of Vermont, I talk to a lot of veterans. I'm the former chair of the Veterans Committee, and I've had the honor to talk to veterans of Vermont and all over this country. And in Vermont, what they tell me, there is enormous pride in the quality of care that they get at the VA Medical Center in White River Junction, Vermont, and as well in the community-based outreach clinics that exist all over our state. And I expect, with some exceptions, that is true all over the country. Bottom line is, veterans appreciate the care that they get at the VA. Want it improved, but they appreciate it, and they do not believe that there should be massive cuts to the Veterans Administration. Truth is that in fiscal year 24, before Trump took office, the VA reported over 36,000 vacancies, including 2,400 doctors, 6,300 registered nurses, 1,800 social workers, and 1,200 custodians. When you have a workforce shortage, the solution is not to fire 83,000 people. It is to add people. It's to make sure you know where your workforce is going, that you have quality people, but you don't lay off 83,000 people. That's not just my view. It would seem to me that before you take a chainsaw to the Veterans Administration, you might want to talk to the veterans organizations and see what they think about it. The Veterans of Foreign Wars, the VFW, said, quote, "We call upon VA to reconsider its planned reduction of 83,000 employees and thoroughly review any proposed cuts prior to rolling out further announcements like this," end quote. Paralyzed Veterans of America said that they are, quote, "deeply troubled by actions being taken in Washington, D.C. that are already having a detrimental impact on the services that veterans with spinal cord injuries and diseases like ALS and MS rely upon," end quote. The Disabled American Veterans, the DAV, said, quote, "We are extremely concerned about the leaked proposal to arbitrarily eliminate 80,000 VA employees," end of quote. That is what some of the major veterans organizations are saying, and I've talked to virtually all of the veterans organizations, and they are deeply, deeply, deeply concerned about the cuts that we have seen and the cuts that Musk is proposing. So, Madam President, this is not a difficult issue. Everybody here wants to make the VA more efficient. The way you do that is to come up with some plans. You work with the Veterans Committee, and you see how we can make the VA more efficient. Nobody in their right mind thinks that just firing 83,000 people is the way to go. And let me be very clear. Mr. Musk has made it public that he thinks that we should privatize anything that can be privatized. There are people, not all, people in the Republican Party who eventually want to privatize Social Security. We're looking at $880 billion in cuts in Medicaid to dismantle that very important health care organization. And if anybody thinks that the laying off of 83,000 employees of the VA, the lowering of quality care that our veterans will receive, is not a prelude to the movement to privatize the VA, you would be surely mistaken. So with that, Madam President, as if in legislative session, and notwithstanding Rule 22, I ask unanimous consent the Senate proceed to the consideration of S-Res 165, which was submitted earlier today. Further, I ask unanimous consent that the resolution be agreed to, the preamble be agreed to, and that the motions to reconsider be considered, made, and laid upon the table with no intervening action or debate. Bottom line, do not lay off 83,000 employees at the Veterans Administration.
Madam President.
The senator from Alabama.
Reserving the right to object, on November the 5th, President Trump was given a mandate. Get this country straightened out. This included waste, fraud, and abuse in our federal government over all agencies. The VA is a perfect example. Under President Biden, the VA increased its staff 80,000 employees in 4 years. Let me repeat that. Under President Biden, the VA increased its staff 80,000 people. You'd think that this would mean that we would increase the efficiency of our VA 80,000%. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Despite the Biden administration ballooning the size of the department, the VA has nothing to show for it. In fact, wait times and backlogs have gone up. Hadn't worked. So these cuts are not warranted. They are completely necessary. By reducing the number of employees, these savings can be redirected to actually providing veteran health care and benefits while still protecting VA's mission of critical jobs like doctors, nurses, and claims processors. Do the job it was meant to do. And phasing out non-mission critical jobs like DEI officers and interior designers, for just a few, is necessary to get this job done. Now, I don't want to oversimplify this. I know these problems at the VA exist. They always have existed. Since 2015, the VA care has been on the government accountability list. High risk. That means it's being audited. Are they doing their job? Not very good reviews. We have to do better for our veterans. I come from a military family, spent many hours in the VA. Some are good, some are not so good. Let's stand up for our veterans. The VA challenges across the board, from overseeing simple things like safety and access of care, are essential. And it's not by having more people, it's by having better people. The VA is not supposed to be a massive bureaucracy. That's not what it was meant to be. It was created to serve our veterans. This resolution being put forward would directly prevent President Trump from carrying out his mandate that the American people gave him. American people have spoken, and the days of business as usual are over. The VA is going to get better. For these reasons, Madam President, I object.
Objection is heard.
Madam President.
The senator from Vermont.
I am not aware that in the so-called mandate of President Trump, and by the way, he got millions of votes less than Joe Biden got 4 years previously, I don't recall that during the campaign, Trump went around the country saying, hey, elect me, I'm going to lay off 83,000 workers at the Veterans Administration. Yes, we all want the VA to operate more efficiently, but the idea that you can lay off 83,000 employees and make that happen is absurd. The truth is, again, before Trump took office, we had a significant shortage in the number of doctors, nurses, mental health counselors, and other practitioners. So it is disturbing to me that anyone who claims to be supporting veterans in this country and the sacrifices they have made would object to this amendment, this resolution. And with that, I would yield the floor.
The senator from Illinois.
Let me just say that at the VA, we recently passed a PACT Act that added well over 1 million veterans to the rolls to help care for them after they were exposed to toxic substances. This is not the time to cut the funding for the VA. But I am here today to